Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to discuss a problem that happens occasionally when you have a lever lock and you cannot remove the key without unlocking the lock or some odd sort of circumstance. And it's all about the orientation of the tailpiece inside of the cylinder. This is what the proper operation looks like. I've got the key. When I turn the key 90 degrees either way, it retracts the latch, and I can remove the key in the locked position. Or I can remove the key without retracting the latch bolt. Now what you're going to take note is the cylinder in a lever lock is horizontal, whereas a knob locks, it's vertical. That's important to understand that because the orientation of the tailpiece changes based on lever or knob locks. And we're going to talk about that more in a moment. So the problem is generally because the client, rather than the key being in this orientation, is actually trapped in this orientation. And it cannot be removed without unlocking the lock and pulling it out. But then but the problem is you're not able to properly operate the lock. So when you have a funny situation like this, you're going to have to time, it's called time the tailpiece correctly. You're going to need a small tool like this. This is just right out of the box. You're going to need to turn the key and rotate it. Rotate it clockwise 90 degrees, and you're going to hold it turned with a finger. Now I'm experienced at doing this because I've been doing it for a long time. So for me, it's not difficult to hold that back, although for some people, you need two hands to do it, or help. When it's turned, what happens is, in this sort of orientation, the tailpiece is vertical, preventing me from depressing the tab that's inside of here. Because of the tailpiece, there's a C-clip in there, and when you push the tab down, the C-clip cannot go anywhere because the tailpiece is there. But when I turn the key, I move the tailpiece so that there's enough room for the clip to depress. And that's the operation that I'm mimicking here. And here we go. Key is turned 90 degrees. Okay. Here, I'm going to push that in. I can feel it depress. And I can just pull the assembly apart at this point. Okay. I've got it all pulled apart. Now, I have the cylinder in the same orientation that it was. Take note of how that tailpiece is vertical. Well, it's horizontal actually when the lever is installed. And when you turn that, it goes like this. And that's what that's what I was speaking about earlier. So what we've got here is this spring-loaded tab is what you're depressing. And I can move that down. But you can see when the tailpiece is in its orientation, that C-clip cannot be depressed. And the only way to make that happen is by turning the slot that's inside of here 90 degrees to give it the adequate room. Now, to emulate the problem that you're having, I'm going to take my cylinder, my key. I can't move my cylinder at all. Because the cylinder fits into the lever only in one way. There's only one way to put that in. Your plastic driver will go in there. I realize the lock you have is not this exact lock, but the design is generic. I'm going to insert my key 180 degrees the opposite fashion so that I actually cannot even remove it. I'm then going to put it back on, and I'm going to do so without the rosette. I'm going to turn. When I get the I'm just going to emulate your problem, okay? So I've got the lever put back on, and imagine that the rosette is installed. There's no way for me to make this happen. You can turn the key basically far enough, and on certain lever functions, you'd actually be able to turn it and pull it out. But in this sort of orientation or this type of lock, depending on, you could also have an O-bitted key where there are no cuts on the key. That would allow you to pull the lever out. In this sort of instance, what has occurred is this. The tailpiece is vertical and is in the proper orientation, but during the reassembly, when you put the lever back on with the cylinder, You only turn it 90 degrees, and for some reason, during the reassembly, you've slipped and gone to 180 degrees, and then we're able to pop it on. Okay, that's inherently the problem. It's the timing of the tailpiece because of the cylinder construction. I'm gonna reverse this. I'm gonna take it off so I can discuss the cylinder construction issue. The cylinder construction issue is going to be a situation is where you have a situation by which you can only remove the key when the cuts are oriented this way in the lever. So the top of the cylinder goes down in here. But what's happening is the proper installation is like this. And I can only remove the key when the cuts are pointed towards the cylinder. A normal cylinder would look like this. Okay? And I can remove it when the cuts are up towards the top, because inside of here are where the chambers are drilled, the springs are installed, and the driver pins or master pins. But in the installation where you can only turn it partially, it's installed this way, and I can't pull the key out because the cuts are in the opposite sort of orientation. Or you've got it installed this way, whatever the case might be, depending on the lock construction. In what I had said earlier, the function, whether it's O-bitted, the key might be blank and you can literally just pull it out. The only cure for this, and the only thing that you need to do, is time the tailpiece so that it works correctly in the orientation. And the way to do that, simply, is to just reinstall the lock such that the cylinder goes in only one way. And this is the crucial part. The plastic driver goes in. Hold this together. Put your finger on the back of the tailpiece because you don't want the cylinder to move. Insert the key. Stop. Don't do anything. Take this assembly. See your C-clip right here? There's only one on there. There's not two. That C-clip's got to be mated with the hole. So the C-clip is here. My hole is here. Push that all the way down until it stops. Then turn the key 90 degrees clockwise. That's all. 90 degrees clockwise. 90 degrees clockwise, and as you're doing that, push. And you just may have heard that click. So when... We're going to do it over again because that happened a little fast. Okay. Cylinder, key goes in, that's it. The hole where you're going to insert the tool is lined up with the spring-loaded clip. Notice the tailpiece is vertical. Notice this hole that's in there is also vertical. When you insert the lever onto the chassis, it will stop. When you turn that key 90 degrees, it gives you enough room for the clip to depress and push it on. And it will automatically do that because of the little ramp feature that's on the inside of the lever right there. You don't even need the key generally to put these back on. Push it down, turn only, and I'm using the face of my knuckles to push as I turn. And that's it. Test for proper operation. Make sure that you can remove the key in all proper circumstances, and you're in good shape. I realize this is a long-winded video, but hopefully, if you sit through it, you'll become an expert at this sort of reversal. It's common. And actually, where you see it all the time is, well, you'll see the backwards key in an entry function, in a maybe a push-turn entry, an office function. Really where you can get screwed up is with classroom locks, because a classroom lock will operate by always locked, and you can always use the key to unlatch, pull the key back out the way you turned it originally in reverse, pull that out, then it's still locked. A classroom, the key can go in, you turn it 360 degrees, pull the key out, then it's unlocked until you insert the key, turn it 360 degrees the opposite way, then pull it out. And because the inside slot that you saw can be left in either this orientation or this orientation. It needs to turn 360 to make the proper sort of change in function, but if you've got it oriented in 180 degree the wrong direction, it will only go 90 degrees either way from dead center. You need it to turn 360. If you're only going 90 to the left, back to center, 90 to the right, that's a telltale sign that what you need to do, take the lever off, the slot that's in there, take a screwdriver, simply turn it 180 degrees, reassemble it, and you'll be back in business. My name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders. If you have any questions on locks in this regard, please don't hesitate. Feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.